The year is 1861. The United States, a young nation founded on principles of liberty and equality, finds itself on the brink of a devastating internal conflict. This conflict, known as the American Civil War, would pit brother against brother, state against state, in a bloody struggle for the soul of the nation. At the heart of this conflict lay the deeply divisive issue of slavery, an institution that had plagued the nation since its inception. For decades, tensions had been simmering between the North and the South over the issue of slavery. The North, with its burgeoning industrial economy, increasingly viewed slavery as morally abhorrent and economically inefficient. The South, heavily reliant on slave labor for its agricultural prosperity, fiercely defended the institution as vital to its way of life and a fundamental right protected by the Constitution. As the nation expanded westward, the question of whether slavery should be allowed in new territories further inflamed tensions. The issue of states' rights, particularly the right of a state to self-govern and determine its own laws, became deeply intertwined with the debate over slavery. Southerners argued that the federal government had no right to interfere with the institution of slavery within their borders, while Northerners countered that slavery was a national issue that demanded a national solution. These irreconcilable differences reached a boiling point with the election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery, as president in 1860. Lincoln's victory sent shockwaves through the South, with many fearing that he would move to abolish slavery outright. In response, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, declaring themselves the Confederate States of America. The die was cast, and the nation braced itself for a war that would test its very foundations. The roots of the American Civil War ran deep, stretching back to the very founding of the nation. The United States Constitution, while proclaiming the ideals of liberty and equality, also contained compromises that allowed for the continuation of slavery. This inherent contradiction would cast a long shadow over the young nation, fueling sectional tensions that would eventually erupt into open warfare. One of the most significant factors contributing to the Civil War was the vast economic disparity between the North and the South. The North, with its diversified economy and growing industrial base, had become increasingly urbanized. Factories and mills dotted the landscape, attracting waves of immigrants seeking economic opportunity. The South, on the other hand, remained largely agrarian. Its economy dominated by large-scale plantations that relied heavily on slave labor to cultivate cash crops such as cotton and tobacco. This economic divide fostered distinct cultures and ideologies in the North and South. Northerners, influenced by the Second Great Awakening, a religious revival that swept through the region in the early 19th century, increasingly came to view slavery as a moral sin. Abolitionist movements gained momentum, demanding an end to the institution. Southerners, deeply invested in the plantation system, defended slavery as a necessary evil and a cornerstone of their way of life. Political debates over slavery and its expansion further exacerbated tensions between the North and South. The Missouri Compromise of 1820, which admitted Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state, attempted to maintain a balance of power between slave and free states in Congress. However, the Compromise of 1850, which allowed California to enter the Union as a free state but strengthened fugitive slave laws, only served to heighten tensions. The long and simmering tensions between the North and the South finally erupted into open warfare on April 12, 1861, with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina. The fort, a federal installation located on an island in Charleston Harbor, became a symbol of the Union's authority and a flashpoint for the Confederacy's defiance. Confederate forces under the command of General P.G.T. Beauregard bombarded the fort for 34 hours, raining down a relentless barrage of artillery fire. The Union garrison, commanded by Major Robert Anderson, fought valiantly but was ultimately forced to surrender. The attack on Fort Sumter marked the beginning of the bloodiest conflict in American history, a war that would claim the lives of over 620,000 soldiers and countless civilians. Following the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter, President Lincoln issued a call for 75,000 volunteers to suppress the rebellion. The response was overwhelming, with thousands of men from across the North flocking to enlist in the Union Army. The Confederacy, emboldened by its victory at Fort Sumter, also rallied its forces, preparing for a protracted struggle to defend its newly won independence. The American Civil War was a complex and multifaceted conflict, marked by numerous battles and campaigns that spanned a vast geographical area. However, several key turning points proved decisive in shaping the course of the war and ultimately determining its outcome. One such turning point was the Battle of Antietam, fought on September 17, 1862, near Sharpsburg, Maryland. This battle, the bloodiest single-day engagement in American history, resulted in over 22,000 casualties. While tactically a draw, Antietam proved to be a strategic victory for the Union. Confederate General Robert E. Lee's invasion of the North was halted, and President Lincoln seized the opportunity to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation, issued on January 1, 1863, declared that all slaves held in Confederate territory were to be freed. This proclamation, while limited in scope, had profound implications for the war. It transformed the conflict from a struggle to preserve the Union into a moral crusade to end slavery. Another pivotal turning point was the Battle of Gettysburg, fought from July 1st to 3rd, 1863, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This three-day battle, which involved over 160,000 soldiers, is considered the largest and bloodiest battle ever fought on American soil. The Union victory at Gettysburg, coupled with the Union capture of Vicksburg, Mississippi, on July 4, 1863, marked a turning point in the war. The Confederacy, dealt a series of devastating blows, would never again regain the strategic initiative. The American Civil War saw a clash of some of the most brilliant military minds in history. On the Union side, there was Ulysses S. Grant, whose relentless strategies and determination played a crucial role in securing victory. Opposing him was Robert E. Lee, a tactician admired for his daring maneuvers and leadership. These leaders, along with others like William Tecumseh Sherman and Stonewall Jackson, shaped the course of the war with their decisions on and off the battlefield. Their legacies, well, they continue to be studied and debated by historians to this day. The American Civil War brought unprecedented challenges to both soldiers on the battlefield and civilians on the home front. Soldiers faced grueling conditions, from long marches to brutal combat, often dealing with inadequate supplies and medical care. Meanwhile, families back home endured their own struggles, coping with the absence of loved ones' economic hardships and the constant fear of bad news. The war's impact was felt in every corner of society, reshaping daily life in ways that would last long after the final battle. As the war progressed, key battles began to shift the momentum in favor of the Union. The Battle of Gettysburg in July of 1863 marked a significant turning point, ending General Lee's invasion of the North. Coupled with the fall of Vicksburg, which gave the Union control of the Mississippi River, these victories boosted Northern morale and weakened the Confederacy. The tide was turning, and the hope for a swift end to the conflict grew stronger. The end of the Civil War brought profound changes to the United States. The abolition of slavery was enshrined in the 13th Amendment, ensuring freedom for millions of African Americans. Reconstruction efforts aimed to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into society. Though the path was fraught with challenges, the war had forged a new nation, one committed to the principles of liberty and equality, albeit with much work still to be done. The legacy of the Civil War continues to shape America to this day. It was a defining moment in the nation's history, a test of its ideals and its resilience. The sacrifices made and the lessons learned during those tumultuous years still resonate, reminding us of the cost of division and the enduring strength of unity. The Civil War's impact is seen not just in history books, but in the very fabric of American society, a legacy that endures as a testament to the nation's journey and its ongoing quest for a more perfect union.